Hello, Canada and CFL fans in the United States. How about that? Welcome to Hour 2 of a Football Friday. We brought out all the heavy hitters today. CFL on TSN's Jim Barker, now Sportsnet's peerless Arash Madani, joining us at our broadcast location at the 111th Grey Cup. How you doing, sir?
I'm great. It is cool to see how the sausage is made. I think I'm going to do this for the socials.
Jim, oh, my God. Yeah, so longtime friends here, CFL guys. I think I'm right in saying Jim Barker's like, this is smaller than I thought. Didn't you say that, Jim? This here. You're like, I expected a bigger deal. What can I say? Ta-da! Live on Game Plus television. Clark says we're modest. WQEE Radio in Atlanta. We are Atlanta's CFL, NHL, NFL show. Happy Grey Cup week, sir.
Happy Grey Cup week to you.
You having a blast?
I am. It's Friday, and I'm ready for a football to go on the tee, because usually by this time of the week, it doesn't matter, if it's the championship game south of the border or up here. After 5 days of talking about it, I'm ready to see some football.
It does get to be long.
Yeah, I'm ready to see some football, and especially this one, because there are so many different ways this game can go.
Well, take us down some of those roads.
So, if Chad Kelly were playing, my prediction for Grey Cup MVP was going to be Janarian Grant.
The return guy.
Who just keeps returning balls into the end zone. Janarian Grant, the former Bomber who Winnipeg didn't re-sign this offseason. How delicious would that be?
Good story, yep.
I'm interested to see against a three-man front how the Argos will run the football with Kadeem Carey. Because I talked to some people, and the word they used for Willie Jefferson was diva. Like somebody who doesn't want to get the fingernails dirty because he just got the manicured.
Who said that?
Well, I can't tell you that.
Sorry, continue.
Nick Arbuckle.
The starting quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts.
The starting quarterback in the Grey Cup for the Toronto Argonauts, who for the first 100 days of the 2024 season, starting in free agency, was unemployed. Who didn't even have a job until the second week of training camp and only got signed by the Argos because of the Chad Kelly suspension. And now the guy that nobody wanted, literally, across the league, is starting in the CFL's championship game.
It's a hell of a story.
It's a hell of a story. And Zach, who's been bad in 3 straight Grey Cups, but probably played his best playoff game of his career last week. What does Zach have in store? I mean, there's just so much to it. That's why I want to see football.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I'm kind of sitting here going, people are saying it's not a great matchup. You just given 4, 5, 6 stories of why it is.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And it always is. You don't have to dig too far to get good storylines.
And Roddy, we didn't mention the guy who's the most outstanding player in the league, who, oh, by the way, also happens to be the best Canadian in the league, who, oh, by the way, just happens to be from Winnipeg, and his entire Blue Bomber career has been to a Grey Cup every single season.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you read the game notes yet?
No.
I feel like you don't need to.
Yeah.
You got them all. But you say, Willie Jefferson's in his 6th Grey Cup. Like it's no big deal. That's a big deal. But a lot of them are in a lot of Grey Cups. You know what I mean? I wrote it down. They're the 4th team to appear in 5 straight.
Yeah, like Tavares Daniels of the Argos, going back to his Calgary days, he's in his 5th Grey Cup in 8 years. You know, the reason he came to Toronto is because in 2018, the year the Stamps won, Dave Dickinson made him a healthy scratch.
Ted in Red Deer writes in, he says, Willie Jefferson is a monster, not a diva.
Yeah.
I agree, dude. Like, I'm a Willie guy, and he knows
Was
that.
it Ted, not my words.
Yeah.
This was some of the Argo offensive guys were telling me.
Most outstanding defensive player. Fresh as the day is long. Won a Grey Cup with Edmonton before coming to Winnipeg, and with a little pit stop in Sask, where they have not been able to find a way to win to the degree that Winnipeg has, their arch rival, which, speaking of, you're a Bomber guy, or are you a Renegade guy? What? You're a CFL guy.
I'm a CFL guy.
Okay.
I root for the success of Ottawa as a business, because I had a front row seat to the second of the 2 times they folded. I still have some friends in Winnipeg. They're trainers, their equipment guy, their PR guy. So you kind of like, it's great to see them all the time. But honestly, Roddy, like, and I know this sounds stupid, I honestly root for good football. And I'm really, really intrigued to see how Toronto is going to approach this game with Arbuckle at quarterback. Like, I'm led to believe that in a regular game week, the Argos on their game plan have about 70 to 75 plays. I bet you that number's down to like 40 or 45 this week.
Oh, yeah.
Just to scale back what's going on in Arbuckle's head and just try and keep it as efficient. I don't want to call it simple, as efficient and as smart as they can.
Arbuckle can spin it. You know that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You think he can do this?
Well, look, I do for a couple of reasons. One, and people got on me on social media about this, I think the Argos have the most explosive receiving core in the league. I look at Coxie, I look at Polk. I think these guys are home run hitters. You know, they're the explosive guys, etc. Tavares Daniels is so smart. You know, they got the young little slot receiver who reminds you of a poor man's Ben Cahoon, and they're able to run the football. Like, I think that if the Argos win this game, it's going to be one of those scenarios where they're going to have long, multiple play drives that eats up a lot of clock. I think that's the way they're going to have to do it. Like, let's compare leagues, but like, you know me, I'm a Vikes guy. The Vikes won 12-7 last week in Jacksonville. The time of possession was over 42 minutes for Minnesota. That's the kind of game the Argos have to play to win this thing. It's not necessarily having to force something that's not there. It's taking what's in front of you and going with it. And if Arbuckle does that, I think they'll be okay.
Pausing the proceedings for a second. Remo, our viewers, Matt Hyman would like you to go down the slide. Everybody's asking? If you do, can you let me know within the next 45 minutes? He says he might have to. We have a possibility of Michael Remis going down the slide. So I'll let you know. You let me know, okay? I'm on live.
Yeah.
And our viewers are asking you, Remo, the producer of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Speaking of Winnipeg, this Wade Miller for commissioner stuff. You're hearing it from the fans mostly. Do you think there's any chance?
I do, like, the honest question is, honest answer is I don't know. I don't know what the Board of Governors wants in that chair. Obviously, Wade knows how the sausage is made when they all get together. I will tell you this. One of the names that the governors apparently, somebody approached, and this is what gives me a little worry, Rod. The governors approached David Hopkinson about his interest in being commissioner. Now, for those of you who may not know who David Hopkinson is, he was a senior guy at MLSE back in the day, went over the pond and ran Real Madrid, then went to New York and ran Madison Square Garden and the Knicks and the Rangers. Like, would you like one fewer comma on your paycheck? So there's the predictable delusion from the governors in terms of what this job is from which candidate may want it. But I don't know. I've heard rumblings of Wade, but I don't know how far down the road they are with that.
He wasn't president when you were there.
No, he had just recently retired as a player.
Could you see him as commissioner? He's not warm and fuzzy. Mind you, who is in the commissioner's role? The good ones.
Yeah, I don't like. Okay, so what are the issues right now that the commissioner needs to handle immediately? The number one thing is the media rights deal.
I was going to say that, yep.
Right? We're a couple of years away from something having to get done. And that's where the majority of the cake is. I would want somebody in that chair who has a real idea, because that's the number one revenue generator and revenue driver of this league overall. That the next commissioner needs to have real expertise in that field. That's what I'd say.
Can we talk about something fun that it never gets talked about? CFL jumping into bed with TSN solely in 2008.
Yeah.
How did that affect things at your network?
I don't know. I wasn't there then. I came over a couple of years later. I'm of the belief that no matter what you're doing as a league, you have to distribute your rights, not evenly, but you have to distribute them to give a vested interest in other media entities, etc., being part of your league. And also, it'll just drive up more revenue. There is no league on earth that is exclusive to one broadcaster, except this one. And that does not allow the whole thing to grow.
I thought it was short-sighted at the time. I'm quite often told I don't know what I'm talking about.
That makes two of us.
Right.
Probably why we're sitting next to each other right now. Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm like, if you watch the Vince McMahon documentary, heat sells. Heat is interest. Heat is buzz. And I keep hearing, that can't be done, Rod. That can't be done. The NFL does all these things.
It's not just that, Rod. There's so many of them at all. So many of them are so thin-skinned that they don't understand they're in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
That sizzle sells. They get their back up. They're offended. They take it personally. They try and eliminate and remove people who offer criticism. Don't they?
I wouldn't know.
Right. They're clueless to what the business of football is, the business of sport is, the business of entertainment is. They're so caught up in themselves and not the greater good, and that's what ends up happening.
Do you think the NFL sees itself as a football league or an entertainment entity?
Oh, God, it's an entertainment entity.
Okay,
oh,
I'm just asking you.
So think of how much noise goes on in the NFL offseason.
Every day.
All the time. It's the number one topic during when it's opening day in baseball. We're talking about the NFL draft.
Oh, yeah.
Right? When it's the conference finals in basketball and hockey, we're talking about mini camps opening. When on the eve of March Madness, when conference championships are going on, we're talking about the opening of free agency. We are so far removed at that point from playing the game, and yet football remains the number one topic. And the audience reflects it. Of the 100 most watched events on television, including Olympic years, around 90 are football. And that includes
NFL games.
And college. And that includes elections, the Oscars,
Everything.
the rest.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, you know yourself, there was a period of time. And look, oddly enough, whether it's on or not, Arash, these CFL shows that we do at Grey Cup are our most viewed. I know where my bread is buttered with the RP show.
Yeah.
That's why we do the things that we do. But there was a time under past commissioners that they wanted to go dark for 6 months. I heard, I was in meetings where they said that. I'm like, you want to do what? And it's fatally injured them.
Well,
critically injured them.
No, but even Ambrosi, they had a good thing with CFL week, right, in the offseason, and then they cancel it.
Costs money, Rod.
Okay, go find partners.
I know. So my point is, for the next 6 months, I'd love to talk CFL, but not all the viewers want that. There's hockey. There's other things going on.
Yeah.
I'll get you to lean up to the microphone if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
The fans are going to want to know. You don't like to do predictions, though, do you? For this game, Sunday.
No, I mean, I can just see it going in so many different. Here's the one prediction for those who like to sprinkle in investment opportunities, that's what I like to call it. The Winnipeg team total of 30.5. The game total's around 50.5, 51, depending on where you're looking at it. The Winnipeg team total of 30.5, the under intrigues me. Not just because the Bombers combined in two games have put up 25 total against the Argos. I just get... I just don't know the pathway to 30.5 unless they just run it deep. Here's my prediction, and I don't want to get too nerdy, but the first 20 Winnipeg plays, when you watch them, they're basically scripted, I will suggest to you that not just the majority of those plays will be RPOs. I would tell you like 15 or so of the first 20 plays are going to be RPOs. What the run-pass option is going to do against the Toronto defense is just keep them off guard, because when they have to sell out on Oliveira, They have to. And then you have Dembski. And then you have Lawler.
A lot of weapons, yeah.
Right. So if you're going to sell out, suddenly man cover it. So that, to me, this game may very well be dictated early by how Toronto handles that RPO.
There you go, folks. It's too hard to say. Michael Remus is checking out the slide. I get that sense. Oh, it's a big line. Oh, get ahead of the line, man. You're from Winnipeg Sports Talk. Don't they know who you are? From the audience.
I like the ongoing chat in the YouTube window,
we
man.
do it all the time.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Jeff writes in, great show, and Arash is so knowledgeable. You fooled him again.
Fooled him again. Thank you, Jeff.
How about that?
Matt Hyman says, looks like security is on to Remo. You might have to distract her. Just saying. Are you able to stay for one more segment?
Sure.
Okay. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg says, I think the CFL's decision was pretty simple when it chose TSN. It was worth more to lock in with TSN than go to piecemeal with a bunch of broadcasters. Yes, we know all that. We know why they did it. But in retrospect, was it the best? Because you have every other TV channel in Canada largely ignoring the CFL except for Grey Cup week when Sportsnet sends Arash. And I miss Travis Lulay with you, by the way.
I know,
miss
me
you.
too.
We were talking about him the other day.
Yeah.
So we'll be back. We'll talk about coaching carousel, quarterback carousel, and more on Grey Cup week when we return. Done wonders with Jim Barker.
You got no wrinkles, Hoss.
That's why, Alaterra.
There you go.
No stress either. Sportsnet.
You mean South Florida living is, right.
I'll be watching the game probably with Matt DeBuck at Wings and Things in Fort Lauderdale Sunday night. As you said, you like the early start time,
I do.
but that's just because it's in the West.
Yeah.
If it was in the East, it would be a 6:30 kickoff,
That's right.
Yeah. The buzz. You've been around. You've been out and about more than me. The buzz is about the game, or it's about the quarterback carousel, like it is every year, right?
Yeah, I would say the buzz more is about what's going to happen in Edmonton as the first domino to fall.
Explain.
So if, for instance, Ed Hervey gets the GM job of the Elks, does Rick Campbell become his head coach? And would that then create a coaching vacancy here in Vancouver? Who will be the GM at Edmonton? Who will be the head coach in Edmonton? That has to kind of almost happen first before then everything else can kind of take shape in terms of where it's going to go.
That's a big domino, man.
It's a big domino. Like, Bobby Dice has another year left on his deal in Ottawa. They made the playoffs. I think he's safe. I think they're going to re-up Sean Burke as the GM there. I think it's going to be status quo in Montreal. The Red Blacks need a defensive coordinator. I think Toronto's going to be somewhat status quo. I suspect that Brent Monson, who's just let go in Calgary, will end up on Dinwiddie's staff. Who knows what's going on in Hamilton? Yeah, and what's Calgary going to do? They basically need to hire a special teams coach and a defensive coordinator. But once the Edmonton thing happens first, then everything else kind of follows suit from there.
And that's at the top. But Jim Barker dropped the bomb here last hour. And you just mentioned it as well. Ed Hervey, are we believing that he's going, or that's just...
Don't know. My read on it was that in the last week or two, I've kind of lost track of time now.
Yeah.
They've interviewed about 6 people in Edmonton for the GM vacancy. That it's not just the new president, Chris Morris, involved, but that Rick Lawlessure, who's still an alternate governor, by the way, and pulling some puppet strings. Rick was involved in the interview process. So 6 likely becomes 2, likely becomes 1, in terms of how that process will unfold.
Just a note for our operators in Toronto at Game Plus and Atlanta at WQEE. We'll be going to an earlier break than scheduled because Arash needs to be out of here at 10:30 Pacific.
Got to go to practice.
1:30 Eastern. He's got to go to practice because he is on the front lines. I like this. You know what I mean? I don't need to be out on the front lines, but you like it, eh?
You know what'd be cool, and of course the coaches would never allow it to happen, especially with cameras, is to set this up at the top of the 100 section in the bowl at Grey Cup. Have, 8 or 10.
Are you kidding? You think we haven't tried that?
Right.
Who do you think shut that down?
Well, Mike O'Shea's paranoid.
No. It was a broadcast thing. It wasn't a football thing.
Even a practice week, huh? Oh, God.
Yeah.
But also Mike O'Shea's paranoid of everything.
It was...
And understandably, because I got a little sense that there may have been some Toronto staffers around the Winnipeg practice on Tuesday. Now, unlike our beloved national soccer teams, I didn't spot any drones, but I did spot personnel around.
How about that?
Espionage. I'm sure it was just a miscommunication, a misunderstanding.
Oh, yeah? Is that what you think it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way,
the Argos version of Connor Stallions was around, too.
We're broadcasting from the McLaren Custom Grills Radio Row, the only officially licensed CFL barbecue grills. To see and purchase the grills, go to McLarenCustomGrills.com. And this week only, you can use promo code CFL to get 10% off your McLaren Custom Grill. Do you want a little peek behind the broadcast curtain for a second? Because we've been talking football throughout. Obviously, we're at Grey Cup, but we were told, going back to Hamilton Grey Cups past, the RP show not allowed on the property by the rights holder. The rights holder said that, the television rights holder. So whatever. Game Plus versus TSN. I don't really care. But at the World Juniors, we were there, and they tried to pull the same thing, TSN did, and Hockey Canada said, he's our guy. He's staying where he is. And we were able to overlook the rink. It was amazing at Rogers Place in Edmonton. But for whatever reason...
Why not grow the game, Mr. Pedersen? Why not grow the game?
The CFL didn't have that hammer that Hockey Canada did with the TSN, oddly enough. But, so you mentioned at the top, but quarterbacks. How do you feel about Vernon Adams? Looks like he won't be here. They can't have both again. So
what's old is new again. Leave it to the BC Lions every 20 years to completely mismanage a quarterback situation. 2004, the Dave Dickinson, Casey Printers fiasco, and it was a fiasco. 20 years later, Vernon Adams and Nathan Rourke. It was VA's team. They bring in Rourke, expecting him to be the knight in shining armor. Wasn't. Creates a divide in the locker room, creates questions, creates a self-made distraction. They actually destroyed it from within. So what happens now? Like, what do you do if you're the BC Lions? Can you really sell Nathan Rourke after this just happened? I think they're going to roll with him, Rod. But suddenly VA just became a very sought-after option for a team.
And he was at the media night the other night. I'm not sure why he was there, but I'm glad he was. Players don't usually show up to that, do they?
Just depends on the guy.
Yeah, well, he did.
Well, Vernon knows. Vernon's going around.
He's politicking.
Yeah, sure he is. He's spreading the Vernon gospel.
He's a great guy, too, man.
See? Look.
Yeah, he's a
hook, line, and sinker.
We had him in Sask. I know him. And so he's campaigning, is what you're saying. I like that.
Maintaining and campaigning.
But I'll leave you with this. I know you got to go. You get 2 minutes. This Amar Doman, one thing I know about owners, and you've been around them as much or more than me, they smile, they didn't get to be where they are by being the nice guys. Like, I feel heads will roll here. I don't think Amar Doman, the owner of the Lions, is real happy his team's not in it.
So I asked your pal Barker this before we came on air. Who was calling the shots on who the starting quarterback was going to be here? Was it the coach? Was it the GM? Was it the offensive coordinator? Was it the owner?
Do we know?
I don't know. But I wonder.
I'd love to know.
Yeah.
Well, that also, he wouldn't be the first owner to interfere on that side of the ball either, by the way.
Yeah.
Let the coaches coach. Rick Campbell's won how many Grey Cups as a head coach?
Yeah, Ottawa.
How many has Amar Doman won?
Speaking of Amar Doman, chef's kiss last night, him getting the Commissioner's Award, because my sources tell me that Doman was one of the owners who showed non-confidence towards Ambrosi.
So
very
CFL
it's very, very Canadian football.
Love it. Okay, my dude. I appreciate the
brother.
time, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. The great Arash Madani. Give him a follow on social media at Arash Madani.